And now I have just a few questions for you. So, again, the topic for today is pursuing opportunities. Tell our audience, who is attorney Monica Somerville and what is her purpose for existing?
Monica Somerville is a wife, a mother. Uh, Monica Somerville is one of 10 children raised by a single mother. I'm an attorney. At 17, I took a class called Law in American Society, and I learned about Brown versus Board of Education and Thurgood Marshall. I am the first in my family to graduate from college.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I was really inspired by that class. I was inspired because Thurgood Marshall, African American man, who took Brown versus Board of Education to the Supreme Court, and he was fighting for fairness, education for black children in Topeka, Kansas. And at that moment, I was inspired to become an attorney. And I did become an attorney. I've been an attorney for 31 years. And I decided at that point that I was going to become an attorney so I can fight for fairness for my community and other people.
Right.
So
that's amazing. So, what does it take to become an attorney?
Well, first of all, education. You need a high school diploma. After you receive your high school diploma, you have to get a 4-year college degree. And after getting a college degree, then you would attend law school. Law school is usually about 3 years, and you would receive a Juris Doctorate degree. So in total, 7 years of education, 4 years of college, 3 years of law school.
So why do you desire to become a judge of the Cook County Circuit Courts?
I want to be a judge because, first of all, we need good judges. We need experienced, qualified judges who are going to be fair. We need diversity on the bench.
Yep.
One of the things that I hear from people is that they don't believe that they're getting fairness. When I talk to individuals, they say that they feel that the judge's mind is already made as soon as they walk into the courtroom.
Right.
And I want to change that. I want to change that. So that is why I want to become a judge, because we need good, qualified judges. We need diversity. We need judges who bring a different perspective and different experiences. People tend to trust people who look like them, who come from their own communities.
Yeah.
And so that is why I want to become a judge.
That's great. So why should people vote for you and or vote in general?
Well, people should vote for me because, first of all, I'm qualified. I've been an attorney for 31 years. I have a very diverse legal background. I've practiced in a lot of different areas of law. Personal injury, workers' comp, employment discrimination, unemployment, compensation, contracts, municipal law. So you want a judge who has the qualifications. I've been found rated qualified by the Chicago Bar Association and the Cook County Bar Association, which is the oldest African American bar in Cook County. So you want judges who are qualified, who has the knowledge and experience, because that's what makes a good judge. And so that's why people should vote for me, because I have the experience, the qualifications. But it's important to vote because that's how we change things.
Exactly.
That is our voice. And for a person like me, the only way that I can assume that role if people vote. So if people don't vote, then I can't get there.
Exactly.
So voting is so important. It's important because, like I said, our ancestors have fought very hard to give us that right, and we should never forget that. We should never forget the people before us who have fought for this right. My mother is 93 years old, and she makes sure she votes, and I vote, and I make sure my children vote. So people should always vote.
How would they know the vote? Most people will say that, oh, I never knew there was an election. It could be like posters and stuff all around the city, but 9 times out of 10, people don't pay attention to that. What's a more effective way to make sure that people vote instead of, signs and stuff?
Well, that's a very good question. So I always know when the election, because I'm a voter. I'm a voter. A lot of times there's an election coming up because you start seeing commercials, you see signs. There's always a primary. Every year there's going to be a primary, and the way the elections, they're every 2 years. So that's how every 2 years there's going to be an election. So this year in 2022, we are going to be voting for governor, secretary of state, judges, and then in the odd year we have the mayoral race, and we have aldermen. So every year there's going to be a race. So that's how you know that there's an election. Every year there's going to be an election. And it's always going to be in the spring, the primary. It's always going to be in the spring.
All right. So why are you so passionate about being a judge?
I'm passionate about being a judge because, first of all, we need diversity on the bench. We need diversity on the bench. We need representation for our community. We need fair judges. We need judges who are going to listen to people, who are going to follow the law, and that is why I feel passionate about it. Remember what I said, the one thing that inspired me to become an attorney was fighting for fairness for people. Well, I still feel the same way.
Right.
Being a judge, I still want to fight for fairness for people. I want to make sure that people are being treated with courtesy and respect, that they're getting their day in court, they're listened to, and the law is applied. It shouldn't matter whatever your color is. It shouldn't matter your financial status. Everyone deserves courtesy and respect.
Right.
And everybody want to be treated fairly when they walk into a courtroom. So that is why I feel so passionate about that.
And what about people who was unfairly accused of a crime? What will happen to them since you are enforcing the fair way? Would they be would they be released from jail or anything like that, or does it still apply even though it was unfair that the way they were accused turned out?
And so, yes, we hear all the time. We see it on the news where people have been convicted of crimes that they did not commit, and we are in our system. You have a right to appeal, and people have fought by appealing their cases and uncovered evidence to prove their innocence, and that is what. That's our process here. That's our process. It should not be that way. We should not, people should not be convicted of crimes that they did not commit, but it does happen. But what I can tell you is I'm going to be the kind of judge to make sure that when I am hearing a case, that I'm going to make sure that the evidence is there, because we hear all the time where people have spent 20, 30 years in prison for crimes that they did not commit. And that's another reason why I feel so passionate about that, about being a judge, because in order to make those changes, then, you have to be part of the process. So I will be that judge that will make that change to make sure that when someone comes before me, that the evidence is there. If the evidence isn't there for that person to be convicted, then they should be set free.
Right. So people are wrongly convicted when they just feel they don't feel like going any deeper, or they don't see how any signs could lead to anyone else, and they just say, okay, we're just going to send you to jail because you are the closest we have to a suspect and we have no one else. Is that why they get unfairly accused of a crime, or is it like something else?
Well, it's something more than that. So it's the state's attorneys who prosecute people for criminal activity. So usually you have to have evidence. You have to usually have witnesses to have seen you commit the crime. A lot of times there's forensic, it's all of these different things, and that's evidence. And so it depends. Every case is different. So the judge looks at the evidence, and then the other thing is this, juries. Defendants have a right to a jury trial. A defendant has a right to a jury trial. You can decide to have a judge decide your case, which is called a bench trial, or you can have 12 men and women of your community listen to the evidence, and then they decide.
Oh, so you could choose who you want the jury to be if you wanted to?
So this is the way it works in Cook County. So yes, you can have a jury trial. That is your right under the Constitution.
Oh, I thought when you said 12 men and 12 women, that they would have been considered the jury.
Well, when I say 12 men, it's usually people from the community. So usually, the jury is made up of usually 12 individuals. And so they sit and they listen to the evidence. And at the end, the judge will instruct the jury as to what the law is, and then the jury deliberates. They go in the back room and they go over the evidence, and then depending on what the charges are, they decide whether or not there was evidence to convict that person.
Right.
So that is how our system of justice works.
Right, okay. So what are the responsibilities of a judge?
Well, a judge has a lot of responsibilities. A judge presides over hearings. A judge pre-tries case. They negotiate settlements. A judge resolves administrative disputes. A judge will make decisions on motions. A judge makes sure that people follow the law. So judges have a lot of responsibility. They kind of command a courtroom, and they decide fate of individuals in their rulings.
So what is a motion, and what is appeal also?
So a motion is this. So when it comes to cases, you can file a motion. So let's say I'm a plaintiff and you're a defendant, and let's say you want to bring something to the judge's attention, you file a motion. And so the judge gives the other side an opportunity to respond to the motion, and then the judge will decide. So motions are kind of legal documents that parties use to either get the other party to do something or get the judge to make a certain kind of ruling. But a lot of times the motions are based on, facts, and the judge has to make decisions based on the law. So that's what a motion is.
Okay.
It's all part of the litigation process.
Yeah,
and I know it's very confusing, but for lawyers, it's very common.
Yes.
to file motions. It's sometimes if someone doesn't respond to discovery, you would file a motion to the judge asking the judge to compel the party to give you the discovery.
Okay.
So that's what motions are. Motions are, usually asking the judge to make parties do something, and the judge makes the ruling on the motions.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay.
The reason why it makes sense to me is because I watched the trial on Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, and I watched how Camille Vasquez, she made like calls. She was like, motion to strike, and to ratify documents, and like all those type of terms.
Right, and the judge is the person who then he basically will decide those rulings, whether or not to sustain those objections or to overrule them. So the judge in those instances sort of becomes like the referee, because he makes sure that certain evidence that may be prejudicial, that it stays out. So.
And I also heard her say redact. What is that?
So, okay, and I don't want to take anything out of context because I didn't watch any of that.
Right. Okay.
But to redact something means to, like to redact a document is to kind of remove that information from the document.
Okay.
It's removing information from the document. So then. And like I said, I don't want to take anything out of context because I don't know
exactly what the situation was for them for why they used that word. Right.
Right. So I don't know if they were presenting a document for the jury to see, and maybe it had some prejudicial information. So the judge may have said, "Okay, counsel, redact that," meaning remove that information that he wouldn't want the jury to see.
Exactly.
So,
okay.
And like I said, I don't know the circumstance, but when I think of redact, that's my understanding of redacting a document.
Exactly. Okay. So, how can we collectively work together to promote a safe, healthy, and drug-free community?
I think to do that means that we need to work together. We need to be advocates. We need to talk to family. We need to talk to students. We need to mentor people. We need to educate people in order to rid ourselves of, drugs and alcohol. It's important, we can all teach kids things, but the thing that's most important is, your family. We should get it first from our family, from our parents. Our parents are our first teachers.
Yep.
Our parents should be our first teachers, teaching us about not using tobacco and alcohol. Our parents should be our first teachers. And of course, community, being involved in, the community need to work together with parents and being mentors and being there for kids because, living in this society, as you know, there's a lot going on. So in order to be able to live in a safe, healthy, drug-free society, it's going to take all of us to work together to do that.
Yep. Also, I want to mention how this weekend, a group of young people, including myself, we were certified by the Chicago Yacht Club to work on boats and yachts for big companies, and we learned CPR. And we're certified in CPR and first aid, and we learned about just a whole lot of stuff that we could use for like everyday situations, just in case we are somewhere and we needed to help someone. We did that with the Chicago Yacht Club Foundation, and I also want to show this certificate that we all received. I don't know if you can see it. I'm sorry. But we also did that this weekend. That's with the Chicago Maritime School, and we've been doing that for about 6 weeks. So I just wanted to bring that up as well. So next question. What are some community, social, and environmental changes you would like to see in our community?
Some of the social and environmental things that I would like to see is I'd like to see some economic development.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I like to see economic development. I'd like to see affordable housing.
Yes.
I'd like to see healthy foods, stores with healthy foods. It is really unfortunate in so many communities there are no stores for people to buy healthy fruits and vegetables.
Yep.
So that is something. And the other thing that I would like to see changes is the pollutants.
Yep.
You know, the toxins in our community, and you see it a lot in poor communities. You see a lot of it in poor communities. You see vacant lots that have been used as dumping grounds.
Yep. And then it's all trash. It's
All
not,
trash.
It's not good. And then it's just messing with our air.
It messes with our air. It's pollutants. It just sits there.
Yep.
It's, you know, it's garbage. And so I'd like to see changes there. The economic development would be great because that would help rid these communities of these vacant lots. We need economic development in our communities.
I agree.
We need small businesses. We need people in our communities to be able to have their own businesses. You know, so many people they aspire to that, but sometimes it's so difficult. So we need resources.
Right.
We need resources that will help us and mentor people and help them own their own businesses in the communities where they were born and raised.
Right. So, what are some of the benefits in African Americans voting for a judge?
One of the huge benefits of African Americans voting for judges is this is an opportunity for African Americans to make changes with the judiciary. This is their opportunity to get a diverse judiciary. Diverse meaning people of color,
Right.
people with different experiences, people with different perspective, people from their community. You know, one of the things that I said, you know, people have a distrust of the judicial system because people don't trust the people who are there. I think people trust people from their own community because they have that relationship. They feel there's a better understanding. But in order